All right, well, we're back. Just when you think you've learned everything about Arborist, All Arms does one of his wonderful things, and he comes out with an update. So, before, just kidding aside, I want to say I work with All Arms doing some testing on this along the way, and he's great to work with. Brilliant mind. His ability with this stuff is incredible. And Arborist being such a new program as it is, it's going to have updates and new features added and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what this video is going to walk through some of the updates and what they do and how to use them. So this is update November 21st, 2025. And I'm not going to go through the fixes, so you can look at these and read through them. The fixes are going to be things that people have noticed and let All Arms know about in the Arborist channel. And he keeps a list and he'll go through these and make little fixes and periodically releases updates. So if you do notice anything, if you post in the Arborist section in Zeros and Ones Discord channel, it will get addressed quickly. And that's kind of how things move along. So I thought we would walk through this. What we need to do first, though, this new update relies on a few things in Unity. So we need to first, there's a new base project out. So this is where you would find stuff about the updates here. So there's a new base project out November 17th, 25. And John is really good about doing little patch kind of minor updates to bring the previous base projects up to date. So if you've got any of this, you need to go in and update your base project. Or if you're starting on a new base project, that's great. You can just use it and it's great. So if you're on this November 11, 25 one, it already has the new Unity helper included in it. But if you are not on this one, the first thing you need to do is get the new Unity helper that was put out. And we're going to find that in Getting Started, OPC Download Drives, visit site. It is going to be in the Arborist section. And you will go to Arborist Helper Unity Package. You'll download this, and it is a quick download, so I'm not even going to pause. All right, it's already downloaded. You can see it's here in my downloads folder. So then you would need to go into your Unity project. If we can get it up, there we go. And to do an update, go to Assets, Import, Custom Package, and you got to find it. So we put it in Downloads. I'm going to go here, Open, and I think I've already put this one in my project, so it may be grayed out. No, this looks like an updated one. Okay, so Import. And what that's going to do, all of this is going to be behind the scenes. You really will never even see this show up anywhere, but I'll show you. I'm going to pause while this updates to keep this a little bit shorter. Okay, that finished updating. Like I said, you won't see this anywhere. Where it's going to show up is under Tools. So if you click on Tools, drop down, you'll see Arborist Post Processing. This is the new one. And then the Arborist Show Vegetation. And we've already talked about that one, so we're not going to get into that. So let me pause for a second and get a few little screens up here. All right, I'm going to try to do this in sections. That way I can kind of make notes in the description and tell people exactly where to look. So we'll start with Duplicate Biome button. And this is a really cool one. The way we used to have to do this, we used to have to export a biome and then re-import it to be able to get a duplicate. But now if we want to duplicate one, and this is really, really handy when you're doing your Billboard biome, or if you just want to make a thicker biome, whatever you want to do. But this one is our main tree biome, and all you do is come in here and duplicate. And it's going to drop down right here. The one thing you do want to do is change your biome type. Okay, that way you're not double planting it, because right now that would just double plant. But you can change that biome type. And let's say I wanted to make that Billboard. All right, well, it currently is exactly like this one. Then you can go in and edit it. And so if maybe, oh, I duplicated. I clicked the wrong one. All right, let's delete that one. We don't need that one. And we don't need that one. Click the right button, edit biome. And then if you wanted to go in here and delete some of these out, you don't need, say you didn't need that, just delete it out. And then it'll be a whole new biome. All right, so that's duplicate biome. All right, the next thing people asked for was to be able to disable the Biome Mask while they're altering it. So say we were trying to adjust this, and if you open up that, you can't really see the lines really good. If you're up here above it, you're trying to move the lines around, you can hide vegetation now. This little checkbox gets rid of it. You can move the lines around, uncheck it, everything comes back. So that one's pretty simple. All right, this one's pretty obvious. Control wheel moves camera in and out. So just a little scroll on your camera. Close this. So you can use the scroll wheel, scroll in and out for your camera view. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, next one on the list, Billboard alternate shader. So what this is, if you're having a problem getting your billboard exactly like you want, I've got this pulled up. I've got these matching pretty good. Let's mess it up here. Hang on. All right, so let's say we couldn't get that one like we wanted. We can go up here and hit alternate and regen billboard. And what it'll do is it'll basically start over and give you kind of a new one to start with. You can play with wherever you want. We talked about all of this stuff. I'm not going to go through all of the billboard stuff, but that's what it is. It just gives you kind of a start over point, gives you a little bit different. There are a few different changes in it. You have to get kind of close to be able to tell them, but it is an alternate version of the shader. So something you can play with there if you don't like the way the billboards are turning out. All right, next one on our list, shader controller exposes smoothness and AO. This is a very big thing. Some of you may have noticed fighting with some of the trees and trying to adjust them, and you just can't quite get them there. So let's look at, one other thing, and I talked to him about this. There was a time where, when you right-click how to show the biomes and the Biome Mask, and it was supposed to do it on quickplant, and at times it wasn't working, but now you can right-click and you can see your quickplant items and what biome they're in, that kind of stuff. So we're going to work with this one. We're going to go biome. And real quick, let me play with this shader just a little bit, and let's get it at least the color that we want. That's not the one I want. Hang on. Sorry. Oh, that was it. All right, right there. All right, let's turn that down. And I'm not going to really mess with this a lot. We're going to get it kind of close, and then I can show you what I'm talking about. All right, so the pine trees are one of the worst. They've got a little bit of shine to the bark. Well, you can mess with the smoothness now. And you can increase that shine up, or you can take it down. So it gets rid of that little shine that you used to get in the distance with these things. So I think this is going to be huge. It's going to help with a lot of the trees where you were having trouble there. And then the AO darkness you can change also. So you can't really see it on that because I've got the color so dark. But get it on a normal tree. You'll be able to adjust these two now and make a huge difference in matching up colors on trees and everything. All right, this next one is one that I was really interested in. It's called Collider Primitives with Physics. So all this means, let me highlight this so I can know where I am. So the collider primitives, you can add colliders to things that don't have them. Now, this won't be used a lot because most of the prefabs are going to already be perfect and you're not going to want to mess with it a lot. But one thing I do a lot is I use this little grass, and it is a grass, but I make it really, really big, and it turns into a pretty good pampas plant. Pampas grass or sawgrass, whatever you want to call it. But it comes in, and when you make it this big, it thinks it's a grass. And if it's a grass, you don't have the little collider button. All right, so if it's a grass or plant, but you can make it a tree or an object, and it doesn't show up immediately. So don't freak out. You got to click away from it and click back, and then your collider's there. So what this allows us to do, when we click collider now, it shows up in a different little screen, and collider is disabled. Well, I don't want it disabled. I want to put a sphere on here, and I want it to play as leaves. So when people hit near this, it's going to play like leaves, and you can position it however you want it. You can make it the little middle here. You can make it bigger. You can make it smaller. Right there. And I'll bring that up a little bit. And now when people hit near this and have to hit through it, it's going to have a penalty. It's going to have the leave penalty. This is great. I've already played with this in GS Pro. It works great in GS Pro. I'm really excited about this one. All right, we're going to cover these next two kind of together because they go hand in hand. The try count. So we've got several trees in Arborist that are really high try, and you wouldn't know it because you can't see that. So now, when we go into, let's go edit biome, quick plant, add. This will show it good. So a lot of the CE trees are high try. They've got a little asterisk here that shows that it's a high try tree. So you know without even clicking on it. But if you hover over it, it'll show you the LOD 0, 1, 2, and 3. So you know that LOD 0 is pretty high on that one. That one's pretty high. Which one is it? It's the kind, I think, that is so bad. Fan 13. I don't see it on here. All right, so that shows you when you're selecting them, and then you can also go in here on the LOD itself. And a lot of these little plants, grasses, are not going to have anything. But I've got one of the, let's see, I know I've got a CE one in here somewhere. There we go. So when you click on the LOD, it shows you right here that the LOD 0 is 24, LOD 1 is 9. You can play with your LOD distance here and bring it down where it converts to 1 quicker. So, that way it would only be the LOD 0 out to 32 meters. So beyond that, you're going to drop 15,000 per tree beyond that 32 meters. So this is huge. I helped a guy recently doing a beta check on I believe it was a swamp bush. And that bush, each bush was 9,000 tries. And we really rendered it down on the render distance on that one because we didn't need to see it out 350 yards. We brought it back to about 150, and it made a huge difference in performance. So I think everybody's going to really enjoy this, being able to see exactly what they're doing and how it's affecting performance. All right, the next really big one is post-processing editor. So now you can adjust the post-processing editor within Arborist. When you first bring it up in Arborist, it's going to bring in whatever you had in Unity. And then any changes you make in Arborist will overwrite that as you take it to GS Pro, okay? So talking post-processing editor. And the first place we're going to start, since we're doing the post-processing editor, is going to be in your Unity. So once you get, and John Meyer did a wonderful video on post-processing. I'm not going to go through all of this. That's a whole separate video. But one thing I will say, and I think he mentions it in there, is when you choose which profile you want, make a clone of it. And then that way, what that will do is if you ever need to go back and change it, you've got the original you can get back to. So this is the one you just cloned. It's already in there. Once you build your course, all of that will transfer into Arborist. All right, so we're in Arborist. So now if we go into post-processing here, and let's say we got into Arborist, we started messing with some trees, looked around a little bit, and we decided, I don't really like that. I want to change, let's change color. That'll be one of the easier ones. And let's just do lighting. That'll be the easiest. So post-processing exposure. So we can click here and we can drag this, lighten stuff up, darken it up, wherever we want it, okay? So any change that we make here, anything we do, any of these, it's going to automatically go into GS Pro that way. But for some reason, let's say we made a little change here, we liked how the trees looked, but we wanted to change the grass, and it's not going to show good here because I've got brown grass. But if we wanted to change the grass in Unity to be able to use this same settings that we've adjusted here, we would need to export these settings, and then we can import them into Unity. So we're going to hit export. That's going to export them into the little file into Unity. We can go into Unity up to that tool, the post-processing tool. We need to make sure we've got the course directory correct, where the file is, remember. So we're in the main one, not into the course file, but in the main file. And then we're going to import post-processing from Arborist. And when we do that, you could see that lighten up a little bit. That was that change we made in Arborist. So then we could go in and adjust the grass because the two match. So anytime you need to do something in Unity, you need to export that post-processing, import it into Unity. And if for some reason you got in here in Unity and decided, you know what, I don't like that. Where was the one we changed? Post-processing. I don't like that. I want to make that back really dark. All right, so we've made that change. So now we've made that change in Unity. All right, future me jumping in here for a second with a little bit of an edit. We just finished doing our post-processing adjustments in Unity. So we need to understand exactly what's happening with this file and what's controlling what's going to GS Pro. So in our File Explorer, in our course file, this is our course build file right here. You're going to notice once you go into Arborist and do anything in Arborist and save in Arborist, it's going to create several of these DAT files, these DAT files. One of them is going to be your basic data that's got all the trees. You're going to see, if once you save it a couple of times, you'll see a backup. And this pawn position is what you're going to use with the Unity helper. But this Arborist post-processing DAT file, this is what's going to control all of your lighting in GS Pro. So this, no matter what you do in Unity, changes. Once you've got this post-processing DAT file here, it is controlling what's going to GS Pro. So as this video continues, I'll talk about exporting out of Unity and then importing into Arborist. That is very important. If you want whatever you've done in Unity to show up, you're going to have to do the export and the import. Okay, so back to regular scheduled programming. We can export post-processing to Arborist. Okay. And then minimize that. We can go back into Arborist. Which one was I in? That one. And we can import the settings, and you saw it get darker. So that brings in the changes we made in Unity. So that's kind of the back and forth with the post-processing. I think people are really going to like this. It was always really hard to make a change in Unity, go into Arborist, figure out, oh, I need to change this, go back into Unity. So this kind of helps with that back and forth because you can make the changes and you can transfer them to each other from each other. So I really think people are going to like that. All right, so these next two, we're going to kind of cover them together. Tabbing between fields, this is your X, Y, and Z fields, and text slider, drag right and left. So what that means, because it took me a minute, I didn't understand all ARM's short abbreviations there. So in these fields here, so instead of having to click on each one, you can now use your tab, and it just cycles through. Hitting tab button, cycling through. The adjusting the sliders, so like you've got a slider here, well, you can hit the X and drag it if you want to, instead of having to do the number. That's what the text and drag is, clicking on the X, Y, or Z and dragging them to increase those. All right, so these next two are really cool. I keep saying that, but a lot of the stuff just is really, it amazes me how he can do some of the stuff. So now we can bring our GKD stuff into Arborist, and it really helps. We're going to kind of visit, we're going to go back to, I believe I use this one in a lot of the videos. This is the final product of Innisbrook Island course. And used to, if we were way out here and we wanted to go somewhere, say I wanted to go all the way across, way over there, we had to fly over there. Well, now we can click on, that's the backside over there. Let's go to 14. And it takes you to 14T. We want to go back to 1. Takes you to 1. 18. You can click all over. It shows the T's. So if you're doing some grasses on the back of a tee and your tee box was, your tees were set way up back here, you know to keep the grasses away from them. Or when you're setting your grasses, you know, hey, I need to go back into Greenkeeper and move those tees forward a little bit away from it. The other thing it can do is it'll show hazards. So it'll show your OB lines and your hazard lines. You can hide. And you can hide the T's if you don't want the T's. So if we go back down, let's say we go back to 1, I didn't want to see the T's, you just hide them. Now, from what I've seen, it does not bring in the custom T's and the custom flags. So don't get confused by that. It's just some markers to show you where the T's are. All right, last thing. Some people were really wanting to be able to bulk scale their quick plant items. So if, let's say you went in and you planted a ton of trees, and then you decided, you know, I want to change the shape of this tree, the size, I want to change the offset, you're going to go into Tools, so Main Menu, scroll down to Tools. All right, so here we are. You're going to pick the right one. So I'm in my quick plant. This is the pine, so I want to make sure I've got the right one. Fine. And we can do the Y offset. So if I wanted this tree to be planted down into the ground a little bit, let's say I wanted to go -2, hit adjust, and every one of the quick plant items will be dropped -2. If we want to reset that, we go back to replant, resets it back to normal. If we want to adjust the scale, let's say I wanted to make it shorter. So let's make that scale. Let's cut it down to, let's make it noticeable. We'll cut it down to 5. It's going to look funny. Hit adjust, and every one of them get readjusted. I don't think replant does anything here. Let me make sure. Yeah, so since we didn't change the offset, the replant won't do anything. You would have to change this back, or you can just click the number and 1, enter, adjust. Oh, I need to tell all arms that it does not go back. Oh. Yeah, it did. There we go. Wonder why it didn't a second ago. 0.5, just 1, just. It doesn't. So you got to go bigger. I think it's when I'm hitting enter. Sorry, yeah. Huh. I need to tell all arms that. We need some kind of a reset there because that's going to get kind of screwy. All right. Anyway, that's a walkthrough. You get to see some of the bugs that need working out. So that's some little bug there. We need to have a way to reset those back to the original scale. So, but that covers all of the updates. Let me. All right. Well, we're back. Just a few days after reporting a couple of bugs. All has already made a few adjustments, and this is one of them. We were, you could tell obviously if you were watching, this just happened, but this is a few days later, and it was not able to do the bulk reductions. This is in the quick plant multi adjustment tool, and he added a little reset. Now this will only reset one adjustment. So if you make multiple adjustments over here, it's not going to reset. But if you say you're trying to change your Y values to 0.5, which is going to look awful, but we hit adjust and like, oh, I don't like that. You can reset it and then change it to maybe 0.9 and adjust. No, don't like that. Reset it. So any one adjustment is fine. You can reset it. But beyond that, it's going to kind of get stuck on you. So that's a quick little update. And like I said, he's fast with this stuff.